Okay, we'll have a little brief look at the 2006 Italian football match fixing scandal known as the Calciopoli in Italian slang. It involved Serie A and Serie B, and now Serie C as well is now involved. But at the time, it involved the two top tiers of Italian football. The investigation was started before May 2006, but it came to light in May 2006, right at the end of the season, just before the 2006 World Cup, which Italy went on to win. The 2004-2005 season was the season that was looked into, and here are the clubs that were ended up being punished for being involved, although other clubs have since come out of the woodwork to be involved as well. But the five main clubs involved were AC Milan, Lazio, Regina, Fiorentina, and Juventus. The punishments that I put on the board were the final punishments after many appeals that summer, and watering down the punishments to the point where it's laughable. This is much different to the 1980 scandal, which involved players going to prison. Completely different scandal. But let's have a look at it, okay? Let's have a look at what actually happened. AC Milan were docked 30 points for the 05-06 season, the season they had played. And they got 8 points deducted for the 06-07 season and had to play one game behind closed doors that season. They went on to win the Champions League not long after this scandal. They beat Liverpool in that final. Replay of the 2005 final, ironically. Fiorentina got hammered a little bit more, with 15 points deducted in 2006-2007. They were thrown out of the Champions League that season, and they had to play two games behind closed doors. That was their punishment. That was it. They were going to get relegated to Serie B and have about 30 points taken off, but it was so watered down by the end, it was laughable. Juventus got hammered, and they were going to get even more hammered than this, as was all the other clubs. They got relegated to Serie B, had the title stripped and given to Inter Milan, and were deducted 9 points for the 06-07 Serie B season. Inter Milan later went on to dominate Italian football for the rest of the decade as a result of this. Lazio only got a 3-point deduction for the 06-07 season, but were thrown out of the UEFA Cup for that season, what is now the Europa League. So they lost out on European football as well. So that's two clubs losing out on European football. Regina, the smallest club out of the lot, but the most involved, actually got a fair whacking punishment. 11-point deduction for 2006-2007. A €100,000 fine, which in the big scheme of things is nothing, but for a club of Regina's size, that's quite a sizable punishment. And the club president, Pasquale Foti, was fined €30,000 and given a 2.5-year ban from football. Here's the thing. All of these clubs were meant to be relegated to Serie B as a minimum. Three of them had their relegations at the first appeal terminated. Eventually, Regina had their appeal, accepted, and they've avoided relegation. So all the clubs actually ended up staying in Serie A, apart from Juventus. Juventus had their points deduction severely reduced, and AC Milan had points deductions from the season that they actually played in, where they got the 30 points taken off. But also for the next two seasons, that didn't happen. So it actually really sums up the problem with the issue here, because AC Milan was owned by Silvio Berlusconi, who was Prime Minister of Italy at the time, so there's politics involved. There's mafia links with Regina. Lazio, the fans groups have a big say in how the club is run, and they get very, very, very violent. Fiorentina, got off reasonably lightly considering. Basically, it was so watered down. Inter Milan were basically given the title for the next 4 years because their main rivals, AC Milan, Fiorentina, Juventus, and Lazio, Rome. Well, Roma weren't really a strong side at the time, but their main rivals at the time were punished. Since this scandal in 2006, Italy have gone on to win the World Cup, but have now since failed to qualify for this recent World Cup. So 12 years on, they failed to qualify for the World Cup. No Italian sides won the Champions League, I think, for this decade, since Inter Milan did it. And they now only get 3 sides in the Champions League rather than 4, so the coefficient's been affected. Juventus have started to dominate Italian football again. More clubs like Siena, they've gone out of business. Regina, I think, are now out of business now, or are really struggling. Other clubs have had issues. But this really has affected Italian football. It's not as competitive as it was, although it is starting to seem a bit more competitive now. The quality of players coming out of the Italian league is less. Less fans are going to games. Revenues are down. And there seems to be a shift in Italian league football right now. there is a shift. Juventus, the gap is closing on them again. Napoli are really starting to give it some beans. AC Milan are really nowhere now. AC Milan and Fiorentina are not the teams they were. Lazio are decent. Regina is vanished off the face of the earth. So the only team to really survive this scandal decently is Juventus. And Lazio have stayed pretty stable. The other three clubs are nowhere near the strength they were 12 years ago. But yeah, a brief look at the Italian football match fixing scandal called Calciopoli. More has come out since 2006. More clubs have been implicated, more officials, more players, more managers, presidents, sponsors, you name it. More has come out. Also, Parma, the Parmalat scandal had an effect on them because that was their title sponsor. They've had to reliquidate and reform multiple times. So Italian football since 2006 hasn't been great. And the punishments sum up the issue with Italian football. The punishments itself sum up the issue with world football, because UEFA should have really stepped in and said, no, we're punishing. We're taking the punishment away from Serie A. We're looking at Champions League and UEFA Cup also being fiddled by some of these clubs. We are going to have a look. And it was so watered down that it's laughable. But there we go. A brief look at the 2006 match fixing scandal in Italy. Thank you very much for watching. This is a fan request. There is a lot more to this than just the punishments, but I felt I'd look at the punishments and how weak they are. The actual ins and outs of the scandal are far more dark, and there's links to organised crime and politics in there, which is a big thing about Italy, isn't it? But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts below, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.